Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully you are doing well, and hopefully you can hear me. Let's go ahead and turn these tunes down. Let's make sure that that works correctly, and I guess I should go on camera. Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am indeed John O'Canute, formerly known as Bird Dog John. Hopefully you're doing well, and hopefully you can hear me. Let's check the audio like a good streamer. Hey-oh. All right, I can hear myself talking, so that's good. You guys let me know what it sounds like, though, because I never know. You also notice that the picture looks a little differently than the last time, mostly because I moved. Oh, well, thankfully, my wife needed that camera, the Logitech camera I had, and I was able to find my Canon camera and set it up again. So we have kind of a similar look again. I've got a light on in the background that gives me a little bit of depth, which is nice. However, those lights tend to blow the breaker, so that could be a problem. So anyways, I just have one on, and I'm hoping that that is sufficient enough for that. So, all right. I have first comment here. Let me listen to this real quick. So my levels are the same that they normally are. However, I can double check, make sure. Yeah, everything's zeroed out where it normally is, and I'm pretty. Oh, okay. Let me just give me a few more decibels. Okay, that's closer to -8, -10, somewhere in there. So hopefully that's better. I just don't want to clip. That's all. Because all right, let's take a look. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for that to come around, but. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what's going on in the world. What's going on, Zach? Hey, morning, John. I hope your move is good. Just jumping on to say hi before I have to go fix more CloudStrike issues on campus. And FYI, I have found Biscoff cookies in Winco, and they have ice cream too. Oh my word! So I have now subscribe and save on Amazon that Biscoff like spread. It arrives on the 31st, which unfortunately I'm headed out of town on the 31st, but it arrives on the 31st, so that'll be pretty great. Oh yeah, update. So we're going to do this show. This one is on vMix 27 on the latest update, but we're going to do this show. Next week I'm traveling, and then the following week I'm going to do a Friday show, okay, because I'm actually also traveling on that Thursday. So this is that camping trip that I go on to Northern Ontario. And so I will go up to Northern Ontario on Wednesday. I'll try and get somewhere into the Kentucky, Ohio area on a Wednesday. I'll try and leave here around lunchtime. Thursday, then, I'm going to drive all the way to Kitchener-Waterloo. And if you don't know where that is, that's just south of Toronto in Southern Ontario. And then from there, I'm going to stay overnight at a friend's house there. And then on Friday morning, traveling to North Bay and then on to Temagami. So couple of places. I've got a big trip coming up, and I got to go a long way to get there. So hopefully all goes well and my truck survives. So it's pretty quiet. All right, let me know how it sounds now. I would really appreciate it. All right, and it looks like I'm live on Twitch, so that's good. I'm gonna depart from Twitch now. Now, here's the other thing about this stream is I'm happy to be back up in like the proper format that I normally am. The problem with this stream is I'm connected over Starlink, and so I had a conversation with Jeremy Kloosterman last week after, my connection issues and whatever. The issue really is with Starlink that you are connecting over satellites, and about every 30 minutes, the satellites change. So I am going to drop frames every now and then, and if I drop frames during critical parts of the presentation, please let me know, and I will correct that. Now, when I'm doing the sessions on the M4250, which I have heard has shipped, and I have confirmation of that tracking number, when I do the training sessions for the 4250, I will try and record those to an external hard drive, which I have, and then if frames drop or whatever, it won't be noticeable on the recording, and I can upload a higher quality recording anyway. So that's the plan. Also today, we have Stingin' Hot Honey. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Stingin' Hot Honey. Ghost pepper infused honey. My wife found this somewhere, and on the heat meter, it has 3 beehives. I didn't know beehives were hot, but apparently it will sting me. The I have opened the lid, but I haven't tried this yet. As a matter of fact, I've had this for several months, and I have yet to try it. It basically smells like red pepper flakes and honey together. So, Stingin' Hot Honey, ghost pepper infused from Nate's Nectar. Anyways, 12 ounces. We're going to give that a go and see what that's like today on Snacks on Stream. So, I got a whole lineup of things ready to talk about and go into. And if you were a part of Tom Sinclair's live stream yesterday, who is, as I have said in the past, the GOAT of the vMix / NDI live streaming world, with like a whopping 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers. He did a sit-in on the live presentation that vMix did the other day, a couple of days ago now, and they had talked about, I forget what was it exactly they were talking about. Anyways, when I tuned in, they were doing like animations for the socials chat. So it like had like a printer and it was like printing off pages. So a really cool idea. Strongly recommend that you check out Tom's stream. You know what? Just do him a favor and subscribe because it's worth it. He is a great resource in this world if you're looking for information on that. So I do want to get into vMix 27 because there's kind of a lot of things that have launched with this. Now, vMix 27 went live back in January, but we recently had an update as well. And I'm going to hit the high points on a lot of this, and I'll try and demonstrate as much of it as that I can and that I understand. But by all means, jump in the chat and let me know over on YouTube or over on Twitch that of any major features that I'm missing. And happy to kind of discuss those and go over those. This is one of those streams where we don't test it in we test it in production. So we just kind of do the thing live right now, and that's that. So I'm gonna kind of get into that in a minute. Good to see you all. Thanks for hanging out with us and on multiple platforms wherever you are. I am not streaming this over on Instagram because we kind of had problems getting it to Instagram, and then it was only like this vertical shot, so wasn't a huge fan of that. But soon, when my wife is using my Logitech webcam for a class that she's taking for her certification here in Tennessee, and so soon I'll hopefully have two cameras, and at least I'll be able to switch between the two and have some variety. So I will we're slowly inching back to what it was that I had on the Bird Dog Live show. But one of these days we'll get there. We'll get there. It's baby steps, right? So I did trying that Stingin' Hot Honey today on a piece of toast, butter included. And so I'm just going to get this started because that toast is getting cold. And so I'm just going to generously spread this around. Oh boy. You know what? Go big or go home, right? All right, so we've got some Stingin' Hot Honey and evidence that I did put this on here. Okay, so there's a fair bit. There's a fair bit on there. Let's see how this goes. Well, I want to give it some time to work. It's clearly got heat, but how much heat, I don't know. I'm almost done this piece of toast. Okay, Stingin' Hot Honey. I'm going to Google this. It is not on Amazon. I wonder where she got this. I know where she got this. She bought this in a local store in Lakeview, Ohio. That's where she bought it. Okay. So I think the heat meter on this, so it has 3 beehives. I think that's out of 10. Maybe it's supposed to be out of 5. There's not too much heat. There is like a tingling type of heat, but it's definitely not like a severe or a heavy heat or anything like that. So it is good, just not hot. So there's, again, it's like, if it's out of 5, I'd give it like a 1 heat out of 5. It's honey, so it obviously tastes delicious, but it's probably a 1 or a 2, definitely not a 3. It's not on the hot side. It's on the light side, but still good. I will eat it. That's I'd eat that for breakfast most mornings because it's just a little heat. So do like that. All right. Let's get into vMix, because there is some stuff that we should talk about, which might be an interesting, it really could help a lot of productions. Some of these updates, some of them I understand. What's going on here? Some of these I understand may not be much of like an exciting update for many, just because of some of the integrations are to integrate things with other paid subscriptions. But I think vMix has been noticing that a lot of people are using services such as Zoom, and vMix Caller is okay, but vMix Caller is also just okay. So the point being that maybe we could have a more robust calling service, especially when we're already paying for a subscription like Zoom, which is a holdover from the COVID days. So if your company now has a huge Zoom account and you're subscribing to that and it's a budget line item, maybe we want to integrate Zoom into vMix. And that is essentially the first major, I think, announcement with vMix 27 is it's a full integration with Zoom, and properly done, they launched a proper tutorial on how to do it. And so there are multiple tutorials on Zoom or on vMix's website, as well as on YouTube, about here's how you get started, here's how you bring people in, here's how you switch. It's a full tutorial and then also a quick start. Now, I played around with this feature a little bit this past week, just trying to get my head wrapped around things. And so if I'm going to move, my vMix mix over here to screen number 2. And this is going to be wild to watch because it's all me all the time. So let's change that. All right, so I'm down here in the corner. Hey, what's going on? And the key here is that we can now bring Zoom participants in as inputs. And so that's kind of a big deal, because they didn't just make it where you can bring Zoom, like if you're running Zoom and you hit, bring Zoom participants, everybody comes over. Actually, the nice feature one of the really nice features that I like about this idea is you can pick and choose who is a participant from Zoom into vMix. And so you're running Zoom on a secondary, window or whatever, and you connect to them with your account. And then when you do that, you can then select who you want to join. And there's 2 ways. First of all, you can be the host and you can have individual participants, right? So you can say host a meeting, and then it'll probably come up on this list. If you hit refresh, it'll come up on this list, and then you can select who you want to join. And a matter of fact, you can say participant, all right? We can show participant source, and we can pick the participant that we want to join us over in vMix. And then vMix can obviously be then outputting, just like we are doing here. vMix can be spitting us out to YouTube or to whatever, and so we can be hosting a Zoom, utilizing the Zoom capability of bringing lots of people in to a single meeting, and then we can just add one participant at a time. So if we're going to do like a news thing, or we're going to go around the table and say, hey, I'm going to talk to Tom, and then I'm going to talk to Jimbo, and then I'm going to talk to this guy, all in consecutive order, I only need to have one input added to vMix, and then I can just change that source. And so I can, bring up my full camera here, and I can say, okay, here I am, talkie, and then I come over to my Zoom participants, whatever that one is. So let's just say it's desktop right. And this has my layout of me on one side and Zoom participant or Zoom input, which is input 13. Okay, whoops, sorry. So it's input 13, which is right here. This Zoom participant is on a layout. I can bring them in and we can chat and we can talk and we can do whatever. And then when I'm done, I can just go back to my camera, which is supposed to be, oh, well, anyways, I go back to my camera and introduce the next guest. And while I'm doing that, I can change the participant. All right, just by doing this, I can change the participant and then I can bring them in. And Zoom participant 1 can be done or can wait in the background, like in a green room. And Zoom participant 2 then comes into my conversation and we have our chat. Now, obviously, you can add more than one Zoom participant. So if I have 2 people and I want to talk to them individually, but I want them to come in as independent sources inside vMix, I can add them both, like 13 and 4 inputs, 13 and 14, like you see here on the screen, and put them in on my own layout. And then I can go to that layout when it's time to do my interview. So really cool idea that now we can utilize Zoom with each of the participants individually. Now, you really have to have a paid Zoom account in order to do this, because if you don't, you're going to be limited to 40 minutes, which might be enough. But if you wanted to, really do this correctly, then you would need to have a paid Zoom account. I'm halfway tempted to vouch for, paying for a month of a paid account and hosting. I'm a part of a congregation here in Tennessee. It's actually more like a ministry. And we want to do like a round table talk. And one of those benefits would be to use Zoom, and then we could use vMix, and I could pipe that out to, our own pages. That would be ideal, because then we could do a live stream and I could just do it through vMix. The problem that I'm really worried about here is the Starlink connection, because if it's going to stutter and carry on like that for every 30 minutes, that's going to be a problem for me, not necessarily for everybody else. So the Zoom integration is a really neat idea, and we can just open that Zoom manager again and have a quick little look. Let me just jump in here to the... All right. Cool. Hey, what's going on, Chad? Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for stopping on by. Always appreciate you stepping in and chatting with us. Okay, and then so there is something called the Zoom Manager. So when you have that actual meeting, I mean, I really probably should have set up a Zoom meeting and had somebody join me. But when you set up that meeting, then those participants show up in this list. There is, I think, also a way to have the Zoom chat room integrated. And so you can bring it in as well. So this is what I was looking for, though, is that we can open our Zoom, log in with our account, and then we can host a meeting. Let's see, what does that actually do? Anything? Okay, so clicking on that doesn't really do anything. If we want to, oh, I see, it switches between the two sources. I gotcha. So here, if I had a meeting, I would pick the meeting from my list, and then video source outputs 1, 2, 3, 4, audio source out master, maximum participant resolution. Obviously, if you have a paid account, you can do higher resolutions on things. Capture mode streaming. Oh, that's cool. And then if we want to join a meeting, we just put the ID in here, and this will actually then our vMix output. Okay, so if we want to actually join a meeting and use our vMix software as our video source, we can join a meeting with this meeting ID, password, put in our name, and then we can HD supports required the host Zoom account to have HD enabled. See the Zoom site for reference. Yeah. Let me see here. Sorry, I got a message here. I'm doing a bunch of things all at once. Okay, so yoink, and back to YouTube. So I really want to try this feature out where I can output my vMix output essentially and join a Zoom meeting, and then use vMix as my video switcher, so that like if I'm giving a presentation or something like that, it's I can utilize the power of vMix to do that. So I'm looking forward to that. And you don't need a paid account to do that. You just need to have an ID, obviously, in Zoom, and then kind of go from there. So the Zoom integration stuff. There's a couple other tabs here that I probably should cover. Zoom integration stuff is really well thought out, and I'm really quite excited about this feature. Again, it doesn't make any sense if you don't really have a paid account because you can't use half the features that are included. But you can switch on your actual Zoom input. You can switch your source, okay, so who it is. You can say, do we want the video source or the share source or to just run it in auto? You can pick the maximum participant resolution, which is super handy because say I'm running on Starlink and I don't have the ability to run at a high bit rate. I can scale them down. Audio source, you can also decide if you want all of the audio coming from Zoom, or if you want just the source's audio. So remember when I said we were bringing in multiple inputs, but we're switching between sources? Well, if you have multiple people sitting on the Zoom meeting who are watching the show, but then you are just bringing in one at a time, you can say, I want it to be the isolated source from the isolated sound from the source that I have selected, which is nice. Mixed, you can have the whole group, and so you can whatever, and then I don't know what share and I don't know what language is. And then meeting settings, so you can unmute yourself and mute yourself. That's kind of nice. And the original sound for musicians, I don't know what that is. So if anybody knows what that is, let me know in the chat. I'd really appreciate that because that is a mystery to me. So the Zoom integration piece is, quite exciting. I think it gives us a whole lot more. I think it gives vMix a whole lot more lateral movement in the streaming space when they start integrating with other services. I had this thing integrated with StreamYard for a very long time when I was over at BirdDog, mostly because it was an easy way for me to bring in participants. Well, if this was an option when I was there, I would have probably used Zoom because I think we had a paid Zoom account at BirdDog, and that would have been an easy way to bring people in that we wouldn't have needed StreamYard, and I could have just used vMix Socials, which I was at the end. So, there's a fair bit more versatility. Again, if you already have a Zoom account, it makes total sense to do that. So, Zoom integration is pretty exciting. And if you are new to vMix or if you're considering vMix for your live stream, there is an added benefit. Now, this vMix 27, I believe if you already had purchased vMix in the past 12 months, it was a free update. But then if you hadn't, or if you had an older version, then it's a $60 update to go to vMix 27. So there you go. Okay, there's a whole tutorial on this next part, and so I'm just going to lightly touch on it. But there is a whole bunch more now when it comes to mix buses. All right, so mix buses is a way to mix your audio going out to the show, but going to different places around your installation or use cases. And so, everybody kind of does this a little bit differently, but like they use mix buses differently. But long ago are the days where even on soundboards, long ago are the days where you would just pipe everything out to left and right. And a lot of churches are still doing that, okay? So they think their main speakers need to be left and right, and then their audio is basically piggybacking off of their main mix or something like that. And the way that audio has changed over the ages is now we think of audio as main outputs instead of, not main outputs, but as individual outputs. And so when you're doing audio mixing in a live situation, but also going to multiple places, so you're mixing to main house, left and right, or whatever your configuration is, you're mixing to like a cry room, you're mixing to the live stream online, you're mixing to whatever you're doing it for, even like backstage, if you've got musicians or a green room or something like that, like, oh, you're mixing to in-ear headphones, your stage monitors, all that. They're now all considered, the way that people think about it commonly is they're all individual outputs. So what you do with your left-right main is you mix it so that it sounds correct in your headphones. And that's when you see, guys that are running sound engineers, and they're listening to the mix in their headphones. They're listening to what it generally sounds like, and they want to get it to where this sounds correct. In your ears, this is what I want it to sound like. And then once they get that, then they go and they use mix buses, or they use DCAs, or they use auxiliary sends even, and they mix the individual outputs to be correct to what it sounded like in the headphones. So your mix bus A, or mix bus 1, or DCA 1, or whatever it is, I guess not DCA, because DCA is more like grouping, but your mix buses, or matrices, I guess you could say, every board is labeled differently, and so take these labels with a grain of salt, because it's not a hard and fast rule. But I can actually demonstrate this if you'd like. Let me put this up here. Oh, let me move vMix back. Hang on one second. I can demonstrate the way that this concept works, because I'm actually using an M42, or not an M4250. I'm using an X32 core to do this. Okay, so let's jump over. So this is my general mix. These are the channels that I use inside my soundboard rig that I run all of this audio in. And so it comes in various channels and goes out various channels. Now you'll notice, I guess you can't really see it too well. I'll scoot this over. You'll notice though, my left and right mix is pretty low. Okay. And there's not really a whole lot of audio that's going out to left-right mix, which is fine. Let me verify something real quick. No, this is correct. Hang on one second. Yeah, okay, I can hear that just fine. I got scared there for a minute. My left-right mix is pretty low, and the reason for that is that this mix is not my main mix. Okay, this is something else. I'm using this for something else right now. My mix that you're hearing inside of vMix is mix bus 2. Okay, so it's this bus right here, which is mic only. And I'm bringing into vMix multiple buses, all right? So finished mixes. And so when I bring music in, that's its own mix bus. When I bring in, audio from my browser, that's its own mix bus. And what it is basically a combination of channels that I want to send. And so I don't really want my microphone, for example, coming through the same input as the audio from my, if I were to play a YouTube video. I would want to independently be able to control those. So perhaps I want to talk over the video. I want you to hear me more than the video, and I can independently control those two channels. Or perhaps I want to play music from VLC, and I want to be able to talk over that, or independently control that, or turn it down, or whatever. I want to bring all of those things over independently. And so I use mix buses for that. I send all that audio over as independent channels into my X32, which is what you're looking at. And then I send those inputs to outputs on the X32, and that X32 then sends those outputs back to my computer, and I add those into vMix. Again, this gives us a lot more control about the way, how they sound, but also, how it's controlled. And I can independently control those on the actual X32, and I can independently control those inside vMix. Now, if your brain isn't wired that way, it might get very overwhelming, but it's a great way to handle all of the independent ways of running, audio inside of a complex rig, especially when you're doing live sound and streaming and a whole bunch of things. So I keep my main mix clean and pipe it to a matrix for front of house and another for stream, and apply my room EQ dynamics to that matrix. Yes. Okay. So this is basically what Chad is talking about. And what I'm also saying is You can then have, and you might think like, man, this is really complicated. It shouldn't be this complicated. No, the reason why we do that now is because we have absolute independent control of every single output going into whatever we're using it for. So I have full independent control of the way that my microphone sounds coming into my computer. I have full independent control of the way my audio sounds coming into my computer, of the music, way it sounds coming into my computer. Independent control every single time. And the reason why we want to do that is because perhaps those places that the audio is going are different spaces. So, when you listen to a live stream of a concert or a service or something like that, right? And it sounds all like boomy and it sounds weird, like it's clearly not designed for live stream. Usually what's going on is they're piping the left-right main into the live stream and just piping it out. And so you get this echoey sound. It's not balanced. It just doesn't sound right. Well, with these buses, okay, so you're looking here, see on the bottom right-hand corner it says bus 1, 2, 3, 4. With those buses, I can independently change those channels, okay? So if I click on these, all right, now I have independent control over the way the channel sounds. I can adjust the EQ. I could turn that on if I wanted to and go into this EQ and change it. I can change the dynamics. I could add them to matrix sends. I could take them out of the left-right main send if I wanted to, which I should. But you can do all sorts of things here, okay? It gives you an incredible amount of flexibility. So what you do is you get it sounding correct in your headphones, your left-right main. You get that sounding correct. And then you send that all to your mix buses, and then your mix buses then can be routed to your outputs. So then we can manipulate every single mix bus to sound correct. So for example, if I have the sound coming into my headphones, it sounds right. And then I say, okay, I want that to go now out to my auditorium. I would route a mix bus to go to the auditorium speakers. And then the way that it sounds there, I would change the way it sounds inside the mix bus so that it sounds correct. And so then there's lots of options for how to do this, but then I have independent control over the way the house sounds, but I'm not screwing around with the way that the actual mix sounds, because 9 times out of 10, when you send your main mix to your stream, it will sound correct because you're mixing it to headphones and then you're sending that headphone mix out to the internet, and that is basically what you want it to sound like. But when you send it to a big open space like a big auditorium, it's going to have reverb issues. It's going to have, sound's going to be bouncing off the walls. It's going to be so you're going to want to, and by the way, you're going to have frequency problems. And so you're going to want the independent EQ control for that output, but you're not going to want to change it on your main mix. And then if you're going to go to like a cry room, well, that room might be a 20 by 30 room with some babies and some moms or dads sitting in rocking chairs, watching the mix through a window or on a screen or something like that. And they're not going to want to hear the room mix. They're going to want to hear what it sounds like in the headphones, because the speakers are going to be a whole lot smaller and that room is going to be a whole lot smaller. Oh, and by the way, it's going to be full of kids' toys and carpet and chairs and things that are not in the main mix. And so you're probably going to want to make that mix sound a whole lot like the mainstream. Now, what's really cool about modern day soundboards, anything from like the X32 onward, is they all have iPad apps. And so when they're connected to your Wi-Fi or your network, and your network has a Wi-Fi access point, you can literally walk into the cry room and adjust it so that it sounds correct. And then when you're in the house, you can walk into the house with the iPad and adjust it. And you can walk around the room and adjust it. You don't have to be standing at the board on walkie-talkies talking to people all over the building trying to get it to sound right. You can actually literally go into that room and adjust the sound on that mix bus so that it sounds correct. So mix buses are incredibly powerful because it gives us the ability to have one mix that's set up and layered correctly. It sounds great. And then all we have to do then is adjust the EQ and the mix buses to handle the different spaces or outputs that we're sending it to. So, hang on. So legendary Angus has arrived. What's going on, Angus? Hopefully you're doing well. How is Edmonton going for you? And Chad says hi. Angus, I saw you show up on the vMix live stream, so well done. Well done. I was watching it on Tom's. Hey, I just got called in to run audio for a press conference. Bit of a drop and run situation, so I got the call just over an hour ago. Right on. Well done. So enjoy that press conference. Can you tell me who the press conference is for? It's not like the Oilers, is it? Really cool, man. Thanks for stopping by. I always appreciate seeing you in the chat. Got in, was quite delighted to see that the client had upgraded to an Allen and Heath QC18T. Nice. Well done. Yes, those are really fancy pants. So the group that I'm working with here in Nashville is probably going to be buying a soundboard. We're tempted to go with an X32 because we're really used to that, and we've got several of those already. But there's also a wing that's for sale that we might consider getting, and hopefully I can get it for a decent price, and that would be great. So yeah, anyway, good to see you, Angus. Hopefully you're doing well. Anybody have any thoughts on the wing over the X32? Just as a sidebar, I follow a group, not Church Front. It's what's his name? Kane and his brother. Anyways, they talk about like church audio tech stuff. And he says if you don't have an X32, you could get a wing. But if you already have an X32, it's not worth upgrading to the wing. The thing I like about the wing is that it's pretty. It looks very nice. But I know when they launched the wing, they had some issues. And so I was hesitant to move away from the X32 platform to go to the new Behringer wing platform. But I think they've sorted that out with firmware updates and stuff. So the nice thing, too, with the Behringer products, now they're all Midas preamps. So they got that going for them. Midas preamps are nice. All right. So that is why, full circle now, that is why we would use a mix bus. Now, vMix 27, when it launched, started using a lot more complicated mix buses. All right. And I haven't had a full chance to play through all of these things. And so I am going to bring vMix back over. I'm going to downsize my stuff here and bring vMix back over. And then let's take a look at the master audio stuff and see what we can come up with. I'll put this up just so it's not all me everywhere. Plugins, EQ, so it's not even on this screen. So let's go to settings. Let's start with audio, I guess, and see if it's here. No, audio outputs. So I've got no mix buses selected. Oh, wow. So you can fill that out. Now I assume that when I start changing mix buses, it's going to want me to restart. I have used mix buses in vMix before. When I was over at Bird Dog, I was using mix buses to kind of, handle the audio. I like it because, and I'll probably do this, but I like it because it does give you proper control over pre-show, during the show, post-show. So you can mix your channels, your inputs, just like I was explaining before. You can add your inputs to a mix bus, and then it's just one fader up and down. To give you an example of this, the way that you might do this on like a soundboard is you might run a mix bus for your band, so all the instruments, right? You might run a mix bus for all your drum mics, because if you have a drum kit, you're usually running anywhere from 4 to 15 microphones, depending on how complicated you need to make it. But you definitely could run everything into a mix bus, and once you get that mix bus sounding right, then you can, send it to your mains, or you can send it to your matrix for your main mix or something like that. But then it also gives you the option to, if this was my drum mix, I could just bring my drum mix down if it's a little too hot or he's getting a little too trash in the campy. You could definitely adjust his overall sound in the mix so that it's not too overpowering. And with drum kits, typically you try and control the audio that's coming from something that's making that much noise. And so you'd put him in a shield or in a room or something, a padded room or something like that, where he could play, and then you could control it. It is one of the advantages of a digital drum kit, although its responsiveness is obviously not as nice as a real drum kit. So that is why you might use a mix bus, is that you'd put him in a DCA in the Presonus world, which is a board that I used to use. Presonus has DCAs, which are groups of channels, and you could put them all in the DCA, and then the DCA is just a single fader. You can go up and down and change the overall audio level. So on a Sunday morning, when we had a worship team and we had a lead and maybe we had an instrument or something like that, I would I put groups together, basically. So overall worship team, maybe I had 3 other people that are singing backup or harmony or something like that. I put them all in a DCA. And then if the worship minister, he was the leader, so I would put him and maybe his instrument in a DCA, and I would level those 2 things so that they're always moving together. But I would then I would have independent control with 2 faders of the whole team on stage. And so that was a really quick and easy way to handle things. But it takes some setup and it takes some mapping it out in your brain, to make all that happen. I'm pretty sure the X32 line is being phased out, and the wing is where all the investment is going. I wouldn't buy a new X32, but if you already have one, sure. I do have one, and I might be able to get one inexpensively. Is the option? So I might be able to. Oh, sorry, everybody. I forgot that my camera wasn't up there. I might be able to get one for less than full price. I know that the wing is where everything's kind of going, and so I kind of, that would be the desire. No, but I regularly work with the TD for the Oilers. The client is the provincial government. Ooh, yeah, interesting. Emergency press conference, huh? That's exciting. So Alberta? So I just saw something about, well, anyways. Our last gig together had all kinds of scheduling conflicts because of their playoff run. Well, there you go. You weren't expecting them to make it that far. It's a good problem to have. Well, it's a good problem for the Oilers to have. Maybe not you. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So the mix buses is now a much more robust routing option when it comes to when you're running audio into vMix. And so you have the option to build out all your mix buses, and that's great. Yes, Jasper is on fire. Oh, no. Oh, dear. That's not good. I'm assuming you're talking about the place. I just wrote Jasper, Alberti. News out of Jasper, Alberta. A little side trip here. Let's just say news. Yes, raging wildfires in Jasper, Alberta. Oh, boy. Yikes. So I'm not a fan of the wing. Last year I had to send about 5 of them back for repair. I'm still waiting on 2 of them to come back. All of it has been OS issues. See, here's the thing is I am concerned about that. I'm hearing those reports as well, that they're having OS issues, but there are these groups of people that are professing that the wing is like where it's at, and I have a hard time leaving a thing that's like just rock solid, that's been thought through and updated and programmed a bajillion times, that now it's just like, so that's why I'm like, maybe I just want to stick with the X32. And by the way, I understand the X32 because not only do we have a full X32 at the soundstage where we record, but I'm running an X32 core here in this rig alone. So it makes sense for me to stick around. Anyways, here I want to take a look at this real quick. Audio Bus Manager. Eureka. So let me show you this one. Man, we're already 45 minutes into it. So this is the Audio Bus Manager that they were talking about. And you can route all of your audio to mix buses, and then you can then send that to your main mix out. Or you could send certain mix buses to your outputs, right? So if you don't want, for example, your main mix to go everywhere, you just want your microphone to go to your output, you could just assign mix bus 1 or mix bus A to go to your streaming output. But then if you want a different mix bus to go somewhere else, like for example, here's a great example, I think. Here's a great example. If you're going to have music copyright problems on certain platforms, you could route certain mix buses to certain platforms, play music over on YouTube, but say it would get pulled down on Facebook, you could not send it to Facebook and just have something else. But then your mix buses would all go, or you could run 2 different music playlists and run one into one stream and one into another, so that you don't get copyright flagged. Anyways, there's all sorts of options with this, but I am definitely going to set up mix buses inside vMix now that I've seen it and know kind of what's going on, because I don't like everything going to the main mix. I would rather have everything assigned and going. I'd rather have everything going into mix buses and then me decide what goes to mains and what doesn't. So it's an easier way to kind of control things. So really recommend it. That would be great. I mean, I stay away from Music Tribe in general, so there's that. I'm a Yamaha and Allen and Heath guy. I ran an Allen and Heath board for a very long time. It was a very old board. It was a 40-channel analog board. And they are robust and really good. We've only had to have it fixed once, I think, or maybe twice in the 30 years it's been in operation. But I used a Yamaha 01V I performed on one of those for a very long time on stage, and my manager ran the 01V. But that was a great little board that, we did a lot of live gigs with. So Chad is the same as Zach, evidently. Cool stuff. So the audio mix bus stuff is really advantageous. And it's another kind of tool in the vMix world to validate why you would pay for a product like vMix and avoid something else. And so I'm not going to say any names, but it's a good reason to consider vMix now, because vMix audio buses are extremely handy, or very handy, as Angus says. And they're very powerful tools. And so I would, like I said, it's one of those pieces that's just gives vMix another kind of leg up on the competition. All right, one of the things that is now a real deal, but not quite commonly used, is the type of encoders that are available for streaming. So there is AV1 that is now available, and HEVC and EVC, which is a hardware graphics accelerator type of encoder. Okay, so HEVC is the NVIDIA, right? Is the NVIDIA hardware encoder. And there are a few streaming platforms, YouTube is one of them, that will accept, I think, AV1 and HEVC. But not everybody does yet. And it will take some time, as our friends at vMix mentioned on their live stream. It will take some time for people to catch on. But the advantage of AV1 is that it uses substantial less bandwidth for the same quality as H.264. So you get, it's almost half. It's like 60% what H.264 needs, which might be what I need to do here at Starlink Central, because we definitely need to alleviate some of the requirement. I'm actually only streaming at like 3 megs at 1080, which is, this image obviously looks soft because it is a 720 image, and I'm actually going to adjust this camera. Let's see if that's any better. Yeah, okay. So I'm actually, this camera is running at 720 because it's the stupid, oh, you know what? Yeah, okay. Because it is that dumb EOS utility from Canon, and you have to pay to have 1080. So instead of paying Canon money, I think I will just be buying like a capture card, even just a USB one that I can use. But I also need to desperately upgrade this computer that's up here. So that might be next before we do anything else. But I need to price that out. And I might do a show on that next month about, remember we did this back in earlier this year. And I think it was Frink that gave me the PC builder options. And so I started like putting things together on there. I need to do that again, but the key elements obviously are power supply and graphics card for me. Everything's kind of important, but the big things that are important are that. So anyways, what is going, speaking of Frink, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Hopefully you're doing well. It was great to see you. Like we left, like you came by on Thursday or something, and then I left on the next day. It was so good to see you and Brayton. I hope you guys are doing well over there. Thanks for popping into the chat. Hey, just tuning in. Are you talking H.265? I assume H.265 NDI-HX3. No, so oh yeah, you corrected yourself here. No, I'm talking right now AV1 and HEVC, because they're new encoding options for streaming out of vMix with vMix 27. And the huge one that I really want to try is AV1. I think Martin said that AV1 is available for YouTube, but I don't think that AV1 is available for Twitch. So I need to Google that and find out. If anybody knows, please let me know. But chat says HEVC is half of 264 and AV1 is 30% lower than HEVC. Oh my goodness. So giddy up. The problem with HEVC for me is my graphics card is too old to handle that. I have dueling, ready for this? Dueling 970s, which are not, this used to be where they had the SLI bridge. I don't have, do I have them SLI bridged? I don't think I have them SLI bridged anymore. I think they're running independently, but we can certainly find out. So yoink and control panel. I think this will show me if they're linked or not. Hey, Frink, did you have a good, this is from Zach, did you have a good rest of Infocom after meeting you with our integration team I work with? That's awesome. So how is it that, I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that I didn't get to meet people, as many people as I wanted to. I've been on this stream for a long time, and Frink gets to, but anyway, it's all good. So these are, oh no, it says SLI disabled. I don't even know if the SLI bridge is installed on this. Anyways, long ago, there was something called an SLI bridge, and the SLI bridge, you would buy dueling graphics cards and join them with basically a piece of ribbon, and then they would operate basically as one unit. I definitely need to monkey around with that, but definitely not while I'm alive, so we're not going to do that. All right, so AV1. I really want to try AV1 encoding, but I probably need to get a new machine before I do that, because this machine cannot handle that. My other issue that I ran into is I keep popping the breaker in this room, and so I've had to strip down a lot of stuff and unplug a bunch of things because it kept blowing the breaker downstairs, which is wild because I can't imagine I'm running more than 15 amps. That light in the background is 80 watts, and it is running off of a different breaker out in the hallway because, yeah, this room can't handle it apparently. So when I build my office, I'm still planning on doing that. When I build my office, I will put everything on their own break. Every plug will have its own. Maybe every 2 plugs will have its own breaker, but good times. Oh, that's why I'm not doing it, because vMix don't play well. vMix doesn't play well over SLI. That is why. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Angus. I knew there was a reason. My brain is very foggy. Oh, hey, I'm sorry that some of you missed the segment today, but we tried Stingin' Hot Honey, ghost pepper infused honey. It says that it is a heat meter of 3 beehives out of we don't know, it's not very hot. It's more like 1 or 2. Still delicious. My wife bought it for me when she was visiting her folks in Lakeview, Ohio. And still good. It's really good, but not spicy. It seems like it is in beta. I believe that you need a 4000 series card for AV1. Yes, that's what Martin said on his YouTube video. He said that you need to be running like a 4070 or something like that. So that is what I would be looking for when I'm building my new computer. But, you know, as NVIDIA announced today at CES, we are also working together to bring AV1 to Twitch. At this point, this capability is exclusively available on NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4, I think it's 4000 series GPUs, right? Or 40 series. Let's just do a little let's just do a little Google search here. And jump over to, what is it, PCbuilder.net? Oh, Part Picker. Part Picker. Where is it? Part Picker. There we go. Let's have a little look-see over on partpicker.com. And if I were to look up products and go to GPUs, not CPUs. What's going on here? Why wouldn't GPUs have their own? All right, whatever. Sound cards. Really? Okay. Well, let's have a look here at video cards. Select your video card. All right, first things first. If I was just to go like straight up NVIDIA and then series, if I click this, does it give me all of them? Like the Super and the TI? Or is it just like one? Yeah, no, just the Founders Edition. Okay, let's go back here, and instead of that, we're going to do this. And then we're going to do all right, we'll just leave that. Okay. Oof. Yikes. So Founder Edition. Add a form filter? No. Go back. Add, okay, let's just sort by price. So the cheapest one, that's only 6 gigs, is $400. Founders Edition. You're not even getting into this. Oh, no, wait, these are 360s. We need the 4000s. All right, let's go this one. We'll do the 80s as well and the 90s. Will the 4060 run it? All right. Yikes, man. Ooh, that is eye-wateringly high. My goodness. All right, what about other brands? Like, I think I'm using a gigabit. Where is it here? Gigabyte, sorry. A gigabyte version. Mine's a WinForce. Are we permitted to use other ones? So it's video card. Thank you. I need a 3000 series for HEVC. My main, sorry. I'm going to just do this. My main rack mount machine has a 3060, but my laptop has a 4070. In a year or two, when it's time to build the next iteration of the rack mount machine, I'll bump it up to a 4U rack. The 3U is very limiting for GPU height. Interesting. Oh, wait, I just said, why didn't queued entries only? Why didn't it show that? Did it? It didn't. Oh, no. I said, put this in the queue, but it never showed it. I'm confused. Rotation 5, automatically update title with most recent, trigger. View the queue. Oh. All right. Sorry. I guess there you go. All right. So, hey, I use the RTX A4000 80A small form factor in my 2U chassis. It's pricey, but wonderful. Hey, I'll check that out. Thanks, Chad. Being a business expense makes it much less painful to spend the money on upgrades. I would agree. Maybe I should incorporate this business that I that I claim to do. All right, so Part Picker is very helpful, and maybe we will go through that on the Friday I come back. Just a heads up, I will be out of town next Thursday, so the next live stream will be the following Friday. All right, so not the following Friday, but the week after Friday. So I forget what day that is, but I have put on YouTube all my upcoming streams. I'm going to be driving on both Thursdays. I'll be driving up to Northern Ontario and back again. And so when I get back on Friday, I'm going to try and do a show, and perhaps we'll do a, hey, let's build a PC show. So we'll see. Hey, Zach, we did. It was a very busy show. Lots of great conversations about the new chapter of Bird Dog. Excellent. The new chapter without Bird Dog John. And how excited we are. No, I'm kidding. I'm excited for you guys. I hope that, I hope the future is bright. As obviously everyone would hope. Okay. The next thing that I want to touch on is the external outputs. You need a really powerful computer to do this, evidently. And it's only available for vMix Max, vMix 4K, and vMix Pro. But it now allows you to have 4 external outputs inside of vMix, which seems excessive. But if we were to go over here to those settings, it used to be external 1 and 2. Now it's external 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so that is a pretty big upgrade for, I mean, you'll need a very powerful CPU and GPU for that. But the option is there if you have the horsepower to spare. So that's a pretty exciting update from them, and very convenient, that's for sure. And then the last thing that they really went into was more about the layer designer and giving you more tools to do that. And so if we were to, it's evidently it's easier to build, designs inside vMix. So I'm going to use my desktop layer, and inside settings on layer, you have the standard options that we used to have, right? So my source is technically my desktop, all right? And then layer 2, which is, what I've selected here, layer 2 is my camera. And so that is how my source is getting into this particular input 4. So on input 4, I have a desktop view, and then, number 2, the input number 2 is my camera. Very simple. Now, if I wanted to select, you can select which layer you want to use. Okay, so layer 2 now, and we can adjust all of these settings right here inside of vMix. So if I wanted to, for example, move the little box around, if I wanted to crop my image and then tidy it up a bit, it's very, very easy to do that. You can also just move it around however you'd like. Okay, so that's where, let me put myself back here in the bottom corner. So you can just move it around, easy peasy. You can also add borders. And so we could turn that on and increase the thickness of the border around my image, which gives a little separation, and then I could change the color of that to, something that I like. So maybe it doesn't do it in real time. That's a shame. Change it to green, because I always had a green one. And then there we go. So if we wanted to move, you could also say, so x-axis, you could really dial this in nice, that's super handy. And then y-axis, if you want to move it around and you want to just get your border exactly right. Well, I like that a lot, actually. That looks really nice. So I'm going to leave that. But it does give you these options to kind of manipulate your inputs right here on the layer side and then, make it look pretty as well. So I am going to crop the bottom of this image a little bit. Oh, nope, wrong way. Can I just hit undo? Oh, there's an undo button, and that's nice. Let's see here. So that's the top. So this would be Y2. There we go. So now we can move it, right? So I want to move the Y-axis up and down, and I want to precisely just show that green right there. That's perfect. I really like the way that looks, and it cleans up. It provides a little separation, too, from my camera input and whatever else is going on the desktop. So that's super handy and convenient and really easy to use. It gives your, the option to move things around. Now, let's do one more while we're at it, and let's go ahead and edit this one. There is no layer on this. Actually, let's do a brand new one. So here we're going to say enter let's just do blank canvas. Okay. This is now number 14. We're going to edit this. All right. Now, layer 1, I want this to be my camera. However, I don't want it to be that big. So can I adjust this? Yes, you can adjust this in real time. You can also, I believe that there's a way to snap this to the middle, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, guidelines. Well, that's helpful. I thought that there was a place, though, where you could... hang on here. That does not look center. It is not center. Let's... Oh, that's weird. Okay, reset that. Where is it? Crop border. It's here somewhere. Is it? Align. Look at that. Center and middle. Okay. And then I'm going to crop the bottom of this. To there. And the top of this to there. Okay, now I'm center. All right, now I want to add that green border that I just made. So we're going to increase the thickness on that, say on, and I'm going to pick whatever green it was that I had before. Okay, that's a little too thick. What is radius? Undo. Oh, it rounds the edges. That's cool. However, why is it not... All right, let's do 0 because I kind of like the sharp edges. But why is it not right up against... I don't understand this too much. Maybe my size is wrong. Anyways, that's nice. That shows... and then let's say... Let's make this a bit bigger. So now we're gonna do mostly that. Align center, align middle. There we go. All right, so now I've got this source. Now I could add an image or something, right, to behind me to kind of fancy it up a little bit, or maybe a video that loops so I could find like a jump back or whatever, and put a background on this. If I just say color key, color correction, layers. I'm sure there's a place for me to do this. Christian, that's great news. Oh, and my image was frozen. Okay. So I really like this idea. And then if we were, for example, to want to create a layout for those Zoom callers that we talked about earlier, you would do it this way, where you would just add that Zoom input as number 2, and we could say left and right, between the two of us. And then if we highlight that guy, we could also then input. So I guess I can't really do that, but let me add a different input so you can kind of see at least desktop right. So now we've got both. Let's align to center. Whoops. Okay, there we go. This guy's not center. I don't know why this doesn't show me the center line for this guy, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So yes, you could have your secondary collar here, and then we could also have your, okay, just for the sake of, we could have a third collar here, and we could make it, the same size roughly. There we go. So now we have, 2 Zoom callers coming in, and I could be chatting with them from my screen. We can fade this over now. Then I could be chatting, with both of them on screen while we're all looking at our camera, but they're just participating in a Zoom call. So that's a quick and easy way to kind of set that up. And you can, fancy it up if you want by adding a border, putting that on there, number 9, adding a border, go up to 9 again. And that way kind of provide some separation from them. You can even diversify the colors if you wanted. Do like red. And then me, thickness 9. And then color green. And say on. Whoa. And I'm not on the screen necessarily, so we could, bring this down a bit. Oh, what's going on here? Oh. What? Boy, this is weird. Okay, so let's undo these items that I just did. And move. Move. I see. So we're going to move, and then we could probably crop this over. That's X, so we'll crop this over. And then we could just move me into position here like that. There we go. And now we have an easy peasy little Zoom setup to chat with whoever we want. So you can then label that input as what, if that's your Zoom chat, you can have a couple people in, and that would be great. Sherman, what's going on? Hopefully you're doing well. Good day indeed. Thanks for stopping on by. Always appreciate that. Okay, what did I miss in our vMix talk? What did I not show that is a new feature for vMix? Because the update is exciting. Okay. But you really have to know what it was that you wanted to do with life before. Like, you'd really want to know why those updates are a big deal in order for you to be excited about them, which is Tom Sinclair watched the actual live stream, and he basically had a watch party, I think, as I understand. He basically had a watch party for the actual live stream from the vMix guys. And it was good to get his kind of live reaction to, what they were announcing. But in particular, they were, talking about, they were talking about some of those updates, and then they did a lot of just kind of Q&A. So that was interesting. Hey, when can we expect Balu or Streamville in those boxes? I'll have to chat with them and find out. We'll have to see if they... Do you guys don't even have do you have a studio, Frank? Is there a studio still at the Auburn Hills office? I never really looked. I guess I went in there for a second, but I never really looked to see if you guys were still running any sort of recording stuff in there. I can't imagine anybody's maintaining that. Also, what was the fate of those Stream Dude machines? Were they ever resurrected? Because they were really good when I used them, but obviously I stopped using them after I left. So I need to rebuild. I need to build a new machine. All right. It is 11:15 here Central Time, and I know it's lunchtime. That's maybe why we're getting some more folks here on the show. Always appreciate you guys coming in. Just again, I want to reiterate, next Thursday I'll be offline because I'll be traveling to Northern Ontario. Maybe I'll try and pop in via the road, but no promises there. I don't know how that might work. But I will be in Eastern Time by Thursday morning of next week. So yeah, that might be fun. Anyways, I'll be headed up camping for the week. And then the next week I'm coming back on Wednesday and Thursday. And so I'll do a live show on Friday. And I think we'll do a PC part picker show so that we can try and get an idea as to what it might cost for me to buy a new computer and then go from there. So I don't have a ton of money, so I want to be careful about how I spend it, but I would like to probably get a little different machine that can handle what it is that we're doing. So are you going camping with Starlink? I'm not, because my wife is staying home. My mother-in-law is coming to town to help with the kids while I'm gone, and she would be basically, we live in a place where there's very weak cell service, so that would be cruel to take that from her. As a matter of fact, the day on July 4th, I ordered Starlink, and it was here a week and a half later, and I had it running the day it showed up. Like within an hour, it was running because we had used all our data on both of our phones, and it was a rough week being disconnected. So this has been pretty stable today. I don't know if I've had any major drops. vMix has not told me I've dropped major frames, so that's nice. But yeah, so far so good. This has been all right today. It's a nice, it's a beautiful day outside. Oh, I got blinds put in my office, and of course they're automated, so they shut when it's time to do the stream, and they open in about 2 more hours. So it lets some nice daylight in here, but I'm also able to do a live stream or watch television or do something. Now, on that wall back there, having a TV installed. Of course, it's a brand new house, so I'm going to pay somebody to do it. But I'm having a TV installed on that wall, and so that will be, this is like the bonus room, so that'll be kind of like living room 2.0. And then I'm having a TV installed downstairs. So a couple of TVs need to go up. The one downstairs is the one that really needs to be professionally installed because it's like a tile backdrop, so over the fireplace. So there you go. Starlink is such a quick and easy setup. I love it when tech is simple to use. I would agree. I mean, I think I'm halfway decent at technology stuff. It was not hard for me to get it working. About 2 weeks later, I got a pole mount for it and put it on the side of the house. And so adjusting that while it was on the roof was a little bit of a challenge but the alignment feature in the Starlink app is really good. So as soon as you're aligned, it says, yep, you're good to go. You're oriented correctly. And then I've had really good service ever since. So I've been very happy. Even in rain, we haven't had much rain, but we had a couple of doozies of storms, and even that has been really consistent. So I really like that a lot. I will do a review of Starlink maybe in a couple of more months after. I need to do some more streams and really find out whether or not this is going to work or not. But there's also talk of fiber coming up the road that is my house lives on. So as soon as there's fiber, I'll probably give up on Starlink. I might keep it for a year and then go to fiber, but we will see. It's kind of expensive to get started. That's why I hesitate to just give it up. But you can also keep Starlink and then, fire it up whenever you need to. So I really don't. The purpose of going camping is to leave the technology, which is something that rarely happens in my life. And so many of us have cell phones and whatever anymore. It used to be like you weren't allowed to bring radios or cell phones or any sort of electronic CD players, if you remember those days, or Walkmans. The purpose is to get away from all that and kind of like disconnect. So we take phones to communicate with our families and tell them everything's fine and make sure they're okay. But for the most part, I'm not doing any work or streaming or anything like that, which means that I need to have everything done for the next 3 Sundays before I leave next week. So This week's done. Next week is almost done. And the following week is kind of put together. So on the Friday after the show, I come back, then we will definitely have some work to do. So Friday and Saturday probably. And, you know, when you get back from camping, and it's going to be almost 20 hours of driving. And so that's going to wreck me in terms of sitting in a truck for 2 days. But, you know, I'm actually really looking forward to it. And, yeah, hopefully we'll have a safe and uneventful trip. You know, no accidents or anything like that. But we are headed to Northern Ontario. So, and like really Northern Ontario. So looking forward to that. If you don't know where Temagami is, you could Google map it. But it's in that region. The Temagami region is where I'm headed. So, well, anyway, we'll talk about this another day. This vMix setup. Anyway, I think that's everything for vMix, and that's what I wanted to cover today. Don't forget to join me, not next week, but the following, for my kind of camping review, and I'll have some photos and whatever, more than likely, to share with you. But then also, I will, we want to start rebuilding or building a computer and figuring out what that's going to cost me. So really interested in doing that, and we will spend some time going down that rabbit hole and finding out exactly what cost it's going to be. And then after that, I do have some shows lined up. All right, I'm just going to look them up because I've got a list of them. Okay, so I am about to use this week, I'm about to use a new set of headphones that I bought for a comm system that we have integrated. Now, the comm system is a Ceramonic comm system. It's a wireless, it's actually on the wireless band. It's a 1.9 gigahertz wireless band. We've been using it for about a month or two, and it's been really good. We got it pretty much right before I got here, and we've been using it. I've only been technically in the state for three and a half weeks, but we've been using it before I got here, and, you know, having communication across your production team is a big, big plus. So if you're doing any live streaming and you have more than one person involved, which, you know, most things do, you're not just a one-man band all the time. You need to be able to communicate with that team. And so finding a comm system that works really well and that is affordable is really the key. This Ceramonic system, probably we got, I don't know, I think we have 5 headsets now and a hub. I think it's cost us probably about $1,200 for the whole thing, but it's been really helpful to have. And this week I've actually purchased personally a set of Audio Technica headphone. It's like a gaming headset with a microphone. And so I'm going to do a review of that in a couple of weeks when I get back about how that's going, because by then I will have used it twice. So I'm calling the show on Sunday, and I'm also calling the show the following Sunday, so the 18th or something like that. So yeah, I will be able to use it twice, and then I want to do a review of that. I'm also going to be getting an M4250 right around the time that I leave. I'll be getting an M4250 from my friends over at Netgear, John Hinkle. And so the first show, I think, is going to be the first full show back on a Thursday will be the kind of unboxing and setting up of that switch. I'm going to be replacing a Netgear switch that I have here in my office with a Netgear 4250. And yeah, we'll be doing the full firmware updates and everything, making sure everything's up and running, and then kind of walking through a feature set. Now, I did a set of training videos for Bird Dog before I left that was wildly popular. I'm going to redo them here for my own content so that I can post them on my channel as well. So if you are interested in any of that, we'll be doing some of those live recordings here on the show, but also, you know, I'll probably create content for that stuff as well. So hopefully that will create some notoriety on YouTube, and we'll be able to bring some more people onto the show. So there's that. So the 4250 is first. I think the Audio Technica headphones is the next one, and then the camping show. So there's 4 up there right now. Today was vMix, and then we'll be thinking of more stuff to do. Oh yeah, by then I'll have about a month and a half worth of Canva experience. So I was using Adobe Express for doing some social media stuff, and, you know, all of us are wearing different hats. So one of the things that I'm doing is creating the video thumbnails, for example, for our content that's going up on YouTube. And I'm not like a designer at all. So went on to Adobe Express and have been using that for, I don't know, probably, most of the year, and found it to be quite intuitive. It works in layers. It's, works very well. Well, then my nonprofit signed up with Canva because our newsletters are made out of Canva by somebody else. One of them is. I make one of them. And I was still using Adobe Express. Well, this is a paid Canva account. So I went in there, and of course, if you're paying for Canva, it's quite powerful over the free Adobe Express version. So I started converting over the past week to Canva, and it has been quite an education, but also it is a quite powerful tool. So I might work with that for a month or two and then do a Canva show about, hey, here's how easy this is to kind of get up and running, and here's what I'm doing. And then we'll be able to kind of show you a quick way around Canva. Now, it's not a free account, it's a paid account. So the advantages of using, what I'm finding is advantageous. So I will do that show, because if you're doing anything on YouTube or social media, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, any of that stuff, you might be needing graphics. And so you'll notice that the graphics for my show are mapped out for the next several months, but many of the ones that I've posted, have a picture of me and then a background and words and whatever. So most of that stuff's being done in Canva right now. And I'm not a designer, so I'm just using templates and using things and trying stuff out and then throwing them up on to YouTube. So if you're wondering how I do that, I'm not, and maybe you think they look like crap, but I'm not very good at any of that. I don't consider myself a graphics designer at all, or marketing or any of that. But if you need to get into it, or you need your stuff to be more visually engaging, I do recommend having a look at least at Canva or Adobe Express, the free versions, as they are quite powerful. A little limiting without the pro version, but still, up until now, I've been using Adobe Express, and all the thumbnails and everything I ever did, even for Bird Dog, were done out of Adobe Express, because I would send stuff off to Australia and, hey, I need thumbnails for this, I need thumbnails for that. And like, those guys were super busy. They had huge fish to fry. And so I just started doing it myself, thinking, all right, well, I don't want to keep bugging them for stuff. And I knew how busy they were trying to get ready for shows and marketing stuff and getting things out online. And so I just tried to crush those myself. And I was able to kind of get my feet wet with Adobe Express, and now over at Canva, now that we have a pro account, there's a lot of power. And so, yeah, maybe we'll do a show on that. All right, folks. Well, I should get back to it. My kids are downstairs probably playing video games. They need to eat lunch soon. Hopefully you're doing well. Thank you so much for coming by for this ride. And have a look back on the vMix stuff. Had a good little walk through vMix 27. I really like the updates to vMix 27, and I think that they're well worth the upgrade price of $60 if that's what you have to do. But it's especially the audio bus stuff, which I'm going to mess with now, and the layers and the Zoom integration. All that stuff is now added features and added value to using vMix over other platforms. So really cool stuff. Really recommend it. It's fairly user-friendly. And the best part is, when it launched, they launched tutorials. And so they're all on the vMix website as to how to use it, how to get it going. It's fairly straightforward. So hopefully you found that helpful. Hopefully you'll join us again one day for another round of chatter and whatever it is that we're doing. And we'll look for you guys in the next one, which will be in 2 weeks. Not next week, but the following. And we'll go again then. So take care of yourselves out there. Really appreciate you all for hanging out with me. And we will have a chat in the next one.